Cash is king. And the king, is he dead? Do we trust money that is not physically in our pockets or in a sock under the bed? The rise of digital money in a virtual bank. So, if the king is dead, then long live what? Join me and Darasz for How We Got Here.
Money predates all written history, developing through the evolution of civilization through barter precious metals into cash. As digital payments via cards and e-wallets surge worldwide, many wonder if cash is on the verge of extinction. However, analysts from Deutsche Bank Research argue that cash is unlikely to disappear soon, even as digital alternatives gain popularity. Their report highlights that despite advances in cashless technologies, cash remains a widely used payment method. A 2023 survey revealed that 58% of individuals believe cash will always exist, with Americans continuing to rely heavily on it. Countries such as Sweden and Denmark have significantly reduced cash usage, and other nations, like Germany and Japan, are following suit. Yet cash has seen a resurgence in some places. For example, UK cash transactions rose in 2023, despite an expected decline. Many people cite convenience, anonymity and security as reasons to stick with cash, with 50% of US consumers emphasizing these benefits. Despite the shift to digital payments, accelerated by the COVID-19 pandemic, cash still holds value. During the pandemic, contactless payment limits were raised and cash was avoided for hygiene reasons, giving e-wallets a boost. In the US and UK, digital wallet usage increased, particularly among younger generations. Nevertheless, physical cash persists due to its tangible benefits, including managing budgets amid rising inflation. Analysts believe cash will continue to coexist with digital options for the foreseeable future, as digital wallets have yet to fully replace traditional forms of payment. Cash may be in decline, but its death is far from certain.
Our guest today is Professor Witold Wiliński. He's of the Institute of International Economic Policy at the Warsaw School of Economics. Welcome once more to the programme.
Good afternoon.
Money is our subject today, that we all either love or hate. You mentioned the difference between the digital operations and the cash operations as 80% digital now, 20% global transactions in cash. Can you just explain, give us an outline of why that is and who does this and how this happens?
So what we can observe in the global economy, we can observe a kind of acceleration of the development of digital transactions after the COVID pandemic. That was the first reason. The second reason, this is a very fast development of the fintech sector. So from 2020 to 2024, we have a huge development of digital transactions, and we have a systematic growth of this area in the global payments.
And this is companies and international banks, central banks, that drive the digital technology?
No, this is completely independent of central banks. And the development depends in the majority on digital transactions related to digital payments and to the development of the fintech sector.
On that sort of level, you can understand why the digital revolution is benevolent. How is there pressure to make the ordinary retail consumer, the banking, the pensioner paying in cash or paying their bills in cash, is there a pressure to convert everything that we do into the digital form?
I think that it depends on the government, it depends on the policy of the central bank. What we know that the majority of central banks in the global economy are trying to to provide some forecasts and some samples related to the digital currency. The more developed country in this area, this is China, and this is Nigeria. So we can see that the development of the digital currency do not depend on the development of the economy of the country, but could be related to the stage of the development of the banking sector. In some countries, in some emerging countries and in some developing countries, the banking sector is not developed in the same way as in, for example, Western Europe or United States. And in such a case, for banks, this is easier to enter with the digital currency or digital transactions.
Yes, and you mentioned in the case of Nigeria, you can just set up an online bank or a digital bank, and you don't have to have the physical presence of a bank branch.
Yes, exactly. And for example, in the comparison, we can compare the situation in Germany and we can compare the situation in Nigeria. So in Nigeria, digital transactions are more developed than in Germany because of the old structure that exists in Germany.
Yeah. You've mentioned the examples of Nigeria and Germany as the one the way forward. The other is a kind of a legacy, banking legacy with perhaps very imposing banking halls, that sort of thing. What are the advantages of having a fully digital economy, digital currency in a Western European or even an Eastern European economy, liberal economy?
So I think it do not depend on the economy. I mean, some figures are completely universal. It could be in China, it could be in EU or in the United States. There is no country which have implemented a digital currency. We have some examples in China and in Nigeria, as I mentioned. And what are the positive of such situation? So from the point of view of the central bank, you can provide a more strict and more detailed monetary policy, which is very important from the point of view of the central bank.
What exactly do you mean by strict?
I mean that you have a stronger control on the money emission if you have only digital money. Mm-hmm. So this is good for central banks, but we can see some negatives from the point of the population, because one of the negative point, this is a full control that the central bank or the government can have on citizens.
Well, precisely, yes.
Yes, that's the first point. The second point, this is related to the fact that the central bank can track all transactions that you did. In the case of cash, this is the opposite. So if you combine the digitalization of the currency in China with, for example, some projects, some Chinese projects related to personal scoring, you can imagine how far it can go and what could be the consequences for the population, for the society. So perhaps this is good for the central bank, perhaps this could be good for the government, but I'm not sure if from the point of view of the society, this is the best option.
Well, this is it. I mean, the citizen, the ordinary citizen, if we can call him or her that, has a great suspicion of central power, central authority. It's a very... the government wants to reach into your wallet and tell you get their money?
Yes, the government can tell you what you have to buy. The government can control all transactions, and the government can control in 100% all taxes in the country. So from the point of view of the government, this is something which is good, but from the point of view of the liberty, this is the way which is unacceptable.
Well, it seems to be going in the government's view, doesn't it? We live in an ever stronger statist sort of society, and the government's point of view seems to be winning, but even against the suspicions of its citizens.
Yes, I agree.
Can it ban all the cash in a society? I mean, if you go to a market here any market here in Warsaw, there's great pressure on the traders to accept just cash, because it gives them, as you say, a level of independence, secrecy from a prying government, a level of liberty on the individual level. So
yes,
how are they going to ban all
yes,
this cash?
And for example, in United States, they had a big discussion related to the right of payment with cash.
Yeah.
So this is one of the basic element of the liberty. And when we are observing the situation, for example, in Europe, in Scandinavian countries, digital transactions, this is 95% of all transactions now.
It seems to be very high level. Does that denote that a Scandinavian country has a very high level of faith and trust in its government? Or is it just, does a citizen just accept this ever-encroaching idea of a controlled economy?
I think that we have two things, two elements in Scandinavian countries. This is a very well-developed infrastructure for digital transactions, and this is the trust to the government. Without the trust, without the democracy, I think that a full digitalization of the economy is unacceptable.
Of course, Western politicians or Western European politicians don't lie at all, do they? I mean, it's a leap of faith that we have to make. What is the, in terms of the world we live in is getting ever more dangerous, and globally and regionally. What are the main pitfalls of having a digital economy in times of crisis? Do people still flock back to getting gold rings, silver, the dollar? Is there anything, or property you mentioned, is that something that people naturally do in times of crisis? They're not going to necessarily put all their money into a digital bank account?
Observing the situation, the global political situation that we have now in the world, a lot of people are trying to diversify the money in a lot of different ways. They are investing in gold, they are investing in real estate, and of course for this you have to have some actives and the money to diversify, because I think that this is not an option for average people. That's the problem.
Is a last question to you, Professor. It's a kind of very philosophical one. Is the digital money real? You mentioned property, real, gold, silver, real stuff. It's tangible. Is the money that we have in, say, my bank account, it just seems to be figures on a screen? How do we define money? Is the definition of money changing?
Yes, but I think that probably you know the history of the money and some standards based on the gold, the system of Bretton Woods that we had in the global economy. Of course, the world is changing now, And the money and the emission of money depends on the trust on the government and depends on the trust on the currency. When we are analyzing the global currencies with the highest trust, this is the US dollar, this is euro, this is the British pounds, the Swiss franc, and the Chinese yuan. But the Chinese yuan represents only 2.5% of the global financial reserve. So you can see that the trust depends on the economy that you have, and if you have the democracy, if you have a liberal financial economy, the trust is higher than in countries without a democracy, in countries when the government can, for example, depreciate the currency, it can try to influence on the level of your currency between others.
Yes, it's that trust, isn't it? Citizen and government. Professor Wiliński, thank you very much for coming onto the programme.
Thank you.
That's all we have time for. Do join us again next time for How We Got Here.